There are moments when the world grows silent, not the peaceful kind of silence, but the heavy kind, the one that presses against your chest, like the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. You wake up one morning, and it feels like something inside you has gone missing. You can't name it. You can't see it, but you can feel the absence, like a hollow echo where your soul used to be. You look around, and everything seems distant. People smile, but their laughter sounds like static. The light touches your face, but it doesn't warm you. It's as if you're standing in the middle of life, and yet somehow, life is happening without you. That's the thing about pain. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it wears the mask of normalcy and hides behind your eyes. While you pretend everything is fine, you tell yourself, I just need to rest. But the truth is, you're not tired. You're lost in the endless maze of your own thoughts, lost in a war between who you are and who you were supposed to be. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But in the depths of despair, those words feel like distant stars. You know they're true, but you can't reach them yet, because right now, your mind feels like an enemy. It replays every mistake, every missed chance, every failure that ever whispered, "You're not enough." And so you withdraw. You stop trying to explain. You stop expecting to be understood. Because how can you explain emptiness to people who've never been hollow? You walk through life quietly, carrying the weight of invisible battles. You smile when you have to. You laugh when it's expected. But inside, you're just surviving. You stare into mirrors, and the reflection feels foreign. You wonder when you lost yourself. Was it one choice, one heartbreak? Or was it a slow fading? 1,000 tiny surrenders that went unnoticed until there was nothing left to surrender? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And yet, when you're drowning in your own thoughts, the mind doesn't feel imaginary. It feels like the whole world. You start to question everything, your purpose, your worth, the meaning of this existence. You ask, why me? But the universe answers only in silence. Still, in that silence, something ancient stirs, a faint awareness, a whisper not from the world outside, but from deep within, a reminder that maybe, just maybe, pain isn't punishment, it's passage. You see, the Stoics believed that adversity is the fire through which character is forged. That suffering, when met with reason and courage, becomes transformation. But before you can rise, you must learn to stand still, to stop running from yourself, to look at the pain, not as an intruder, but as a teacher. So you begin to sit with it, the silence, the ache, the loneliness that clings to your bones. You stop fighting it, and slowly, something begins to shift. The world doesn't get brighter, but you begin to see more clearly. You begin to notice the small things again, the way the air moves through the trees, the sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your heartbeat, reminding you that you're still here, still alive, still capable of change. You realize that the greatest battle was never against the world. It was always against your own mind, against the thoughts that told you to give up, against the fear that whispered, you'll never heal. But healing isn't a sudden sunrise. It's the slow burning of night into dawn. It's patience, discipline, the courage to take one small step forward, even when your heart feels heavy. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Those words begin to echo in you now, not as philosophy, but as survival. Because when you strip everything away, the noise, the expectations, the world's endless demands, what remains is your response, your choice, your will, and that will, that quiet, stubborn ember inside you, is unbreakable. You start to understand, pain is not the end. It's the invitation to begin again. It's the forge in which strength is born. The darkness is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It reflects what needs to be healed, what needs to be faced, what needs to be released. You start walking again, slowly, but with purpose this time. You still stumble, you still fall, but you rise more calmly now, because you're no longer trying to escape the storm. You're learning to stand in it. There's a certain peace in surrendering to what is, not resignation, but acceptance. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate, to embrace every moment, not because it's easy, but because it's yours, because it's part of your becoming. You begin to whisper it like a prayer. What happens, happens for me, not to me, and the world slowly begins to change. Not outside, but within. You stop asking for the path to be easy. You start asking for the strength to walk it. You stop begging for control and start cultivating composure. You stop waiting for the storm to pass and start learning how to breathe in the rain. Each breath becomes an act of rebellion. Each calm thought, a victory. Because in a world that profits from your panic, your peace becomes your protest. You remember Marcus Aurelius again. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Mortality no longer frightens you. It clarifies you. You begin to see how short, how fragile, how precious this existence truly is. You start to let go of trivial things, the grudges, the comparisons, the constant craving for validation. They no longer hold the same weight. Because once you've faced the emptiness within, you realize how little the world's noise truly matters. You understand now. The only real wealth is a calm mind. The only true power is mastery over yourself. And the only lasting peace is the one you build inside. Brick by brick, moment by moment, you begin to rise earlier. Not to chase success, but to greet the silence, to breathe before the world awakens, to feel the rhythm of existence without distraction. The sun becomes your companion. The dawn becomes your teacher. And in its light, you begin to see yourself clearly for the first time. You are not your mistakes. You are not your pain. You are not the sum of your failures or regrets. You are the one who watches them, the one who endures, the one who chooses, again and again, to begin anew. That is strength, not the loud dramatic kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind. The strength to smile after breaking, the strength to love after losing, the strength to keep walking, even when the road disappears. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. You begin to feel that truth now, not as words, but as lived reality. Each challenge, each heartbreak, each fall, they were not curses. They were the gymnasium of your soul. They trained you for endurance, for clarity, for peace. You realize that to live well is not to avoid pain, but to navigate it with grace, to meet fate with composure, to hold yourself upright when the world tilts sideways. That is the essence of Stoicism. Not denial of emotion, but mastery of reaction. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to act despite it. Not the elimination of suffering, but the transcendence of it. And so you begin to speak differently to yourself, no longer as a victim, but as a student of life, no longer asking why me, but what is this teaching me? Each day becomes a meditation, each setback a test, each breath a reminder that you are both fragile and infinite, a soul enduring the human experience. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the heaviness begins to lift. You start to smile again, not because life is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. You begin to understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So you guard them, you cultivate them, you choose them carefully, like a gardener tending his most sacred soil. You let go of what you cannot control. You forgive what cannot be undone. You return again and again to the only thing that truly belongs to you, your mind, your perception, your will. And from that, everything begins to change. The man who once drowned in silence now finds peace within it. The one who feared loneliness now finds strength in solitude. The one who cursed the darkness now understands it was preparing him to see the light more clearly. Pain taught him patience. Silence taught him understanding. Loss taught him gratitude. And the storm taught him stillness. You breathe deeply now. You no longer chase meaning. You create it. You no longer run from your past. You walk beside it. You no longer demand from life. You listen to it. And in that stillness, you realize you were never truly lost. You were only being remade. Because every wound was carving depth into you. Every heartbreak was shaping compassion. Every failure was sculpting resilience. The pain was not destroying you. It was refining you. And though you didn't see it then, you see it now. You were never meant to stay broken. You were meant to break open, to expand, to awaken, to rise. There comes a moment when reflection turns into revelation, when the echo of your own thoughts stops sounding like noise and begins to sound like truth. It doesn't come with thunder. It comes quietly, like dawn creeping across the edges of a long, dark night. You begin to see that life was never against you. It was carving you. It was stripping away everything false, so that only what was real could remain. Every trial, every silence, every disappointment They were not punishments. They were lessons written in invisible ink, only visible once the tears had dried. You sit in the stillness and begin to ask new questions. Not, why did this happen to me? But who am I becoming because of it? Not, how do I escape this pain? But what can I learn from it? Because something inside you has shifted. You no longer want to run. You want to understand. The Stoics taught that virtue is the only true good. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And as you look back on your life, you realize how each moment of suffering was quietly calling you toward those virtues. The betrayal taught you honesty. The loss taught you compassion. The struggle taught you patience. The loneliness taught you love. Not for others, but for yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that becomes your mantra now. You start to see freedom not as escape, but as discipline, not as indulgence, but as control. The world had always told you that freedom meant doing whatever you wanted, but now you know. True freedom is wanting only what is good. True freedom is mastery. You begin to understand your own mind like a landscape. Some parts fertile, some parts barren. And the thoughts you water, those are the ones that grow. So you start tending to it. You pull the weeds of resentment. You plant the seeds of patience. You nurture the roots of gratitude. And slowly, your inner garden begins to bloom. You realize now that the mind is everything. It shapes perception. It colors the world. It can make a prison of paradise or a sanctuary of suffering. And the key was always within you. You remember what Marcus Aurelius said. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. You whisper it to yourself as you walk, as you breathe, as you live. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. Every fall, a foundation. Every scar, a story of survival. You see how the Stoics faced death not with fear, but with clarity. They saw it as a reminder, a mirror reflecting the urgency of life. You think of your own mortality now, not as a shadow, but as a light that sharpens your vision. You are not eternal, but that is what makes each moment sacred, each breath meaningful, each choice divine. You start to live with intention. You begin to strip away what no longer serves your soul. You stop chasing the applause of the world and start building the quiet approval of your own conscience. You learn to walk alone, not because you reject others, but because you no longer need their validation. You carry your peace with you now. It is your armor. It is your home. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And now you understand. Bravery is not loud. It's not found in shouts or battles. It's in the silent decisions you make when no one is watching. The courage to stay calm when anger tempts you. The courage to forgive when hatred calls your name. The courage to keep going when everything in you screams to stop. You look at the faces around you, and you see people trapped in the same illusions you once believed. The endless chase for more money, more approval, more everything. But you've seen the truth behind the curtain. You've seen how fleeting it all is. You've learned that enough is not a measure of quantity, but of contentment. And that peace is not something to find, it's something to create. You begin to honor your life as it is. The imperfections, the struggles, the scars. They're not flaws. They're fingerprints of growth. Proof that you have lived. Proof that you have endured. Proof that you have learned. Every morning, you return to yourself with gratitude. You breathe deeply and remind yourself, today I will control only what I can. My thoughts, my actions, my attitude. And that, you realize, is enough. Because that's the Stoic way. To focus not on the uncontrollable winds, but on the strength of your sails. To understand that while you can't command the sea, you can command yourself. And in that command, in that inner authority, you find peace. You start to live slower. You start to listen deeper. You start to notice beauty in the smallest things. The rhythm of footsteps on wet ground. The way sunlight dances on water. The way time softens even the sharpest pain. You stop hurrying through life. You start living it. And every moment begins to feel complete. Whole. Enough. You look back at the person you once were. Restless, anxious, always searching for meaning in the distance. And you smile, because you see now, meaning was never out there. It was within you all along. The Stoics spoke often of eudaimonia, a flourishing soul, not pleasure, not comfort, but living in harmony with reason, with virtue, with nature. The storms still come. People still disappoint. Plans still fall apart. But you don't fall with them anymore, because your foundation is within you now, and nothing external can shake what is internal. You've become what the Stoics admired most, a calm soul in a chaotic world, a mountain unmoved by the winds, a flame that burns steady. No matter how dark the night becomes, you start to guide others quietly, not through words, but through presence. Your calm becomes contagious, your patience becomes example, your discipline becomes light. And without meaning to, you begin to lead, not by authority, but by authenticity. You learn the difference between solitude and loneliness. Loneliness is emptiness. Solitude is fullness. Loneliness is craving company. Solitude is meeting yourself. And in that solitude, you find something profound. You are enough, completely, entirely. Now, as you are, you begin to look at pain differently. When it returns, and it always will, you greet it like an old teacher. You ask it, "What lesson do you bring this time?" And it answers in its own way, not with comfort, but with clarity. You see now that life is a cycle of becoming. There is no final form, no permanent peace, no eternal arrival. There is only the journey, the discipline of returning to yourself, again and again, no matter how many times you drift. You are both the student and the teacher, the wound and the healer, the question and the answer, the fall and the rise. You begin to live by principle, not impulse, by reason, not reaction, by love, not fear. You no longer wish for an easier life. You wish for the strength to endure the one you have. You no longer pray for fewer challenges. You pray for greater wisdom. You no longer ask for lighter burdens. You ask for broader shoulders. This is the transformation, from reflection to realization, from understanding pain to mastering peace, from living unconsciously to walking with awareness. And awareness changes everything. It turns pain into purpose. It turns struggle into strength. It turns life, even in its chaos, into art. You stand taller now, not because you are without fear, but because you have learned to carry it gracefully. You move slower, but with greater purpose. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You smile more, not from ignorance, but from understanding. You are no longer the one searching for light. You have become it. And when darkness comes again, as it always does, you won't beg for the dawn. You'll remember. You are the dawn. You'll remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. The universe is change, life is opinion. You'll smile, because you understand now. It's not the world that changes. It's you. The pain that once defined you has refined you. The solitude that once imprisoned you has freed you. The silence that once haunted you has become your sanctuary. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to become because of it. And in that choice, you found your power. In that stillness, you found your peace. In that surrender, you found yourself. And so you walk on, not ahead of time, not behind it, but within it, calm, clear, whole. You have realized what the Stoics always knew, that life is neither good nor bad. It simply is. And your perception of it makes it what it becomes. You are the sculptor now, and your mind is the marble. Every thought, every choice, every act of discipline chisels you closer to the person you were always meant to be. This is self-realization, not the discovery of something new, but the remembrance of what was always there. You, unbroken, unmoved, unshakable, free. And then one morning, you wake up, and the air feels different. The same sun rises. The same wind moves through the world. But you are not the same. Something within you has settled. The battle that once roared inside has quieted, not because you've won, but because you've stopped fighting against what is. You sit in the stillness and realize something profound. Peace was never out there. It was never waiting in a distant future or hiding in someone else's arms. It was here, in the quiet chambers of your own mind, waiting for you to return. The noise of the world fades. The chaos, the opinions, the endless chase, they pass by like clouds, while you remain the mountain beneath them, unmoved, unbothered, eternal. You understand now what the Stoics meant when they said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." You see clearly, the world is neither cruel nor kind. It simply is. It moves according to its nature, and your peace depends not on its motion, but on your mastery of perception. You breathe deeply, and your breath no longer trembles. It flows steady, like a river that has found its course. Each inhale carries acceptance. Each exhale, release. You are no longer resisting life. You are flowing with it. You have learned the art of surrender, not giving up, but giving in to the rhythm of existence, to accept what comes, to let go of what leaves, to trust that whatever happens You have the strength to endure. Seneca said, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling." You are willing now, willing to follow where life leads, willing to meet each moment as it is, without demand, without fear, without resistance. You've stopped chasing control. You've started cultivating composure because you've seen the truth. Control is a mirage, but composure, that's real power. You walk differently now, not with haste, but with harmony, not with anxiety, but with awareness. Your steps carry intention. Your silence carries weight. You've become a presence, not loud, but grounded, not flashy, but unshakable. People begin to notice. They sense something in you, a calm that can't be faked, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself. They ask what changed, and you smile gently, because you know it wasn't the world. It was your mind, your perception, your heart finally at rest. You start living by a simple creed. Do what you must, endure what you must, and love what you must. That is Stoicism distilled. Action, acceptance, and love. You face each day with quiet courage. When difficulty comes, you no longer say, "Why me?" You say, "Why not me?" For you have been tempered in the fire. You have walked through shadows. You have been broken open, only to find that within the breaking was your becoming. You no longer fear loss. You understand that nothing truly yours can be taken, and nothing taken was truly yours. You release people, possessions, expectations, not in bitterness, but in gratitude, because everything that left made space for what was meant to stay. You've learned that peace is not a state, but a skill, a discipline. It's not found in the absence of storms, but in the stillness of the sailor. And you've become that sailor. You remember Marcus Aurelius. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. So you shape your thoughts carefully. You guard them like sacred fire. You tend to your inner world, as a gardener tends to his field, weeding, watering, watching, because you know now, whatever you cultivate inside will bloom outside. You speak little, but when you do, your words carry the weight of stillness. They rise from clarity, not chaos, from calm, not confusion. You no longer argue to win. You speak to understand. You no longer listen to respond. You listen to see. You have discovered the most powerful truth of all, that peace is not a gift, it's a practice. Every day, you wake and return to it, like a monk tending to a flame. You feed it with discipline, with gratitude, with humility. You don't let the noise of the world extinguish your inner light, and so your life becomes simple, yet profound. You wake with purpose. You work with focus. You rest with peace. You love without attachment. You give without expectation. You exist fully, in every breath, in every moment. When storms rise, you remind yourself, this too is part of nature. And just as storms pass, so will this. You no longer fight impermanence. You honor it, because impermanence is what gives life its beauty. You cherish things, because you know they will end. You look at the sunset, and instead of mourning its passing, you thank it for its light. You look at aging, and instead of fearing decline, you marvel at the wisdom it brings. You look at loss, and instead of grieving what's gone, you celebrate what was. This is peace, not numbness, but reverence, not escape, but engagement, not emptiness, but fullness beyond measure. You've learned to love the ordinary, the quiet mornings, the warm tea, the laughter of strangers, the sound of rain on windows. You realize now, this was the miracle all along, to simply be here, alive, aware, breathing. You understand what Epictetus meant when he said, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." You no longer swim against the current. You move with it, and in that movement, you find freedom. You are no longer chained to the need for outcomes. You do your duty. You give your best, and then you release it. The results are not yours, only the effort is. And that effort, you stop fearing death, because you've learned how to live. You stop fearing endings, because you've learned how to begin again. You stop fearing failure, because you've learned how to rise. You carry no bitterness now, not toward the world, not toward others, not toward yourself. You understand. Everyone is fighting their own unseen battle. Everyone is learning, stumbling, growing. You no longer judge. You no longer rush to condemn. You simply see, and you understand. Compassion grows quietly in your heart. not as pity, but as strength. Because it takes strength to stay kind in a world that has forgotten gentleness. It takes strength to forgive when anger feels easier. It takes strength to remain soft when life has tried to harden you. And that strength, it shines through you now. It's in your eyes. It's in your voice. It's in the way you stand. Calm amid chaos, centered amid noise. You have become what you once sought, not by reaching outward, but by returning inward. You see now that happiness was never a goal. It was a byproduct of understanding, of gratitude, of balance. You are content, not because everything is perfect, but because you have stopped expecting it to be. Your mind is clear, your heart steady, your spirit free. You walk through the world with quiet dignity. You no longer need to announce your peace. It speaks for itself. People may still hurt you, the world may still test you, but you do not waver because you have become anchored in something unshakable, yourself. You live now by the wisdom of those who came before. You carry their teachings, not as words, but as living truth. Marcus Aurelius whispers through your thoughts. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And so you are, not perfect, not divine, but present, purposeful, peaceful. You've learned the power of stillness, the strength in gentleness, the courage in surrender. And now your soul rests, not because it has escaped the storm, but because it has learned to dance within it. You understand that every ending is only another beginning, that every loss is another kind of gaining, that every fall is an invitation to rise higher. The old you fought life. The new you flows with it. The old you sought control. The new you trusts the process. The old you feared uncertainty. The new you welcomes it. Because uncertainty is the birthplace of all possibility. You no longer look for peace. You create it. You no longer seek strength. You embody it. You no longer beg for light. You are it. And when the night returns, as it always does, you won't tremble. You'll smile softly and whisper to yourself, I have been here before. You'll sit with the darkness like an old friend, knowing it has nothing left to teach, but everything left to remind. That peace was never about escaping it, but about embracing it. You've come full circle now, from pain to presence, from despair to discipline, from chaos to calm, from brokenness to beauty, from searching to simply being. You have mastered the greatest art of all, the art of living, not perfectly, but consciously, not endlessly happy, but endlessly aware. You carry within you the wisdom of the Stoics, the scars of the human, and the peace of the eternal. And as you walk forward into whatever comes next, you whisper one final truth to yourself, a truth carved through every tear, every struggle, every silent night of the soul. I am not what happens to me. I am what I choose to become. And in that choice, you become unbreakable. You become whole. You become free. Then there comes a morning when you wake, and the silence no longer feels empty. It feels full, full of presence, full of strength, full of the quiet knowing that you have survived everything you thought you could not. You breathe and it feels different. The air is the same, but you are not. There is steadiness now where once there was trembling. There is acceptance where once there was denial. There is understanding where once there was only pain. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." You finally see what he meant. You spent years fighting shadows, arguing with ghosts, trying to rewrite the past, not realizing that all along the only prison was your mind. Now you step out of that cage, and the world greets you not with applause, but with calm. A simple sunrise, a simple breath, a simple truth. You are enough. The pain did not vanish. It transformed. It became your teacher, your compass, your forge. Every sleepless night sharpened your endurance. Every heartbreak stretched your compassion. Every loss deepened your humility. Every failure, though bitter, turned to wisdom when you chose to face it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." And you feel that power now. The power to revoke your suffering, the power to change how you see, the power to remain still while the storm rages outside. You no longer chase peace, you become it. You no longer chase control, you embody it. You no longer need validation, you have inner truth. You look at the scars on your heart, and you bow to them. They are no longer symbols of weakness. They are proof of transformation. They are evidence that you met life fully and refused to turn away. And now, as the sun rises higher, you feel the shift from survival to purpose. You survived, but now you must live. You must give meaning to the struggle that shaped you. You must turn endurance into wisdom, pain into presence, fear into freedom. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And so you walk quietly, firmly, humbly, carrying a peace no one can give or take. You no longer seek to control what happens. You master how you respond. The noise of the world still swirls around you, but inside it is calm. Where others see chaos, you see rhythm. Where others see crisis, you see choice. Where others see the end, you see the beginning of another lesson. You understand now. The goal was never to escape pain. It was to learn how to stand with it and still remain kind. To look at uncertainty and still move forward with courage. To face loss and still love without fear. To stand in the ruins and still whisper, I am whole. And you are. You walk through life like a quiet mountain now, unmoved by storms, unchanged by praise or blame. Your worth no longer depends on circumstance. It flows from within. You understand impermanence? That everything changes. That every joy, every sorrow, every face will one day pass. But instead of sadness, you feel gratitude. Because impermanence makes every moment sacred. It makes every breath a gift. And so you begin again, not as the person you were, but as who you were always meant to become. Lighter, wiser, truer. Still, you realize now, nothing external can harm the soul that accepts itself. No insult, no loss, no chaos. Because your peace no longer lives in the world. It lives in you. You are not what happens to you. You are how you meet what happens. And in meeting life with grace, you have found something stronger than happiness. You have found serenity. Marcus said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And now your thoughts are clear, not loud, not restless, but measured, compassionate, free. You no longer ask, why me? You ask, what can I learn? You no longer beg life to be easy. You ask only to be strong. You no longer fight for control. You surrender to what is and find freedom there. The sun climbs higher. The day unfolds quietly. The same world that once felt unbearable now feels sacred because your eyes have changed. You understand now that peace is not found in escape, but in mastery, in returning to the moment again and again, no matter how heavy it feels. And when darkness comes again, as it always does, you will not run. You will greet it as an old teacher. You will say, welcome, teach me again how to stand. And you will, because you are no longer a prisoner of pain. You are its student. You are no longer the victim of life. You are its witness. And through that witnessing, you have found something eternal, a stillness that cannot be taken, a strength that cannot be shaken, a soul that knows its own depth. You smile, quietly, knowingly. The storm has passed, but the lesson remains. And so do you, unbroken, unmoved, unshaken, at peace. And when others ask how you found it, you will not give them answers. You will simply live in a way that shows them. For as Epictetus said, what is the fruit of these teachings? Tranquility, fearlessness, freedom. You have become all three. The weight that once crushed you has become your wings, and you rise, not above life, but within it, calm, whole, free.